How's it going, guys? Thanks for tuning into this video. And if you don't remember, or if you didn't watch last video, I was having some troubles with the engine and transmission fitting in here. Mostly the engine. The transmission was fine since I cut so much of the firewall out. And in that video, I was kind of just going over the different ways that I could get around that. And I came up with a way. And I've been working on it for a while now. And I didn't record too much, just kind of with my phone every once in a while. I'd pull it out and record something for you guys. So I'll cut some of that stuff in right now.
What's up, guys? So what we're going to do now is basically I'm going to clean these two off, and I'm going to weld a piece of 2x2 from here to there and cut off this frame right there. Same on this side. So this is the update. So this is what I'm going to do is just weld this piece across there. You see I'm trying to get it level here. The car is actually tilted 1.4 degrees or whatever, so that'll be a 1.4 when I weld it on there. It just has to be, it'll be almost spot on like that. That's how it should be welded, 1.6, 1.4, and it's gonna be solid. That's some 1/8 inch 2x2. That's plenty strong for right here and to hold the suspension. Might end up putting gussets right there and there just for extra strength. I mean, you can't really go overboard. Same thing I gotta do on the other side, but it's looking good now. I like the way that looks in there. Just kind of finishes the rail, which is exactly what I wanted to do.
This is what I've done to the front cross, or the frame up here. Sorry, I'm trying to juggle around the light to see everything. So that's what I did. I'm going to cut out that top part because that's actually what was interfering with the engine. This is the Miata subframe. Sorry, it's a mess right here because I've just been cutting and grinding and welding for the past 2 days. And this is what I've got up here. So this piece right here actually holds the front part of the subframe up top, so that holds it there. And yep, so this is how I did it. I also notched this piece of tubing that goes across, so this contour could fit around it, and I could get the subframe higher up in the body itself. And I did have to notch down here on the frame. This is pretty thick up here, so I'll probably end up cutting it right about there. That way I still have a decent amount of frame rail, and then it'll taper down. So I tried to keep it pretty thick. I'm just going to plate that in, and then basically I also cut this. I cut this right up here. I didn't have to really too much, at least not this much, but this is also going to get plated in. And then the subframe will be able to bolt into this. It lines up. Everything is perfect. 102-inch wheelbase, which is exactly what it's supposed to be, so that's good. And the only thing I need to mount would be these lower mounts here, right there. Mounts back there in the frame. Hey, Todd. It's my cat, Todd. He kind of roams around. Todd. Yeah, so I had to notch it out, cut it on both sides. It's just going to get plated right now, and then we should be good to bolt everything in, and it'll be structurally sound. I'm thinking of adding another gusset in the middle, but I really think that's overkill since the subframe isn't holding the weight of the car. It's the suspension, the actual coilovers themselves. So this doesn't have to be super overkill. This is 3/16 inch plate. This is 1/8 inch 2x2 tube. And it also mounts in 6 spots. So 1, 2, and then 3, 4 on the other side, and then 2 down low, down there. So it should be plenty strong. The only part that I'm kind of juggling right now and not really sure what I'm going to do is to get that coilover mount to mount somewhere in this fender, probably right around here. But in order for it to mount up here, it has to go up probably that 2 inches or so to get up in there. And I don't really want to have the suspension be that compressed at ride height. So kind of my options, I might end up building a little box right here to hold the coilover, just like kind of like a 2-inch spacer. But that should work also. That's kind of up in the air right now, but the main thing was getting the subframe actually mounted so I can see how the engine fits in here, because that's the whole reason I did this. It has a 4-lug right now. What I'm going to try and do is, or what I'm going to do is get FD RX-7 hubs, which are 5x4.5, just like the Ford 8.8 rear that I'm going to get. So, and I'll have 11.5-inch brakes and 4-piston calipers on here, so it should be plenty strong to stop this. But that's where we're at right now. I'm going to keep welding and grinding on this, get everything fully welded up, plate the frame in, and then we'll be good to put the subframe in. I didn't end up filming too much of me actually welding everything up. It wasn't a lot of fabrication, just cutting gussets and stuff like that in little trim areas. But I have the subframes in the car. This is basically all I needed to do. This is a 3/16 inch plate and then a tube welded across here because I do need this extra room. And then I have these 3/16 inch gussets, which should be plenty strong. Because remember, this isn't getting the full load of really anything. It holds the engine up, that's about it. And then the suspension will go up here to the fender area. And then there's also another subframe bolt down there that I had to fabricate. But this is the Miata suspension in the Volvo Amazon, which is pretty cool. This is the whole subframe, so it gives me a rack and pinion, which is great. And it really wasn't too hard to fit in here. It would be a lot easier if I had concrete floors and stuff, so I could roll a jack and this whole subframe around, because it went in and out probably 15 times just to line everything up. But I have it all level. Everything's all level and square, which is great. So I have that on that side, and it's the same exact thing on the other side. Really, the only thing you need to do is trim off some tabs down there. For the stock subframe, so that's what I did. And if you can see under the frame over there, there's another mounting point I need to make up. It's down there, if you can see it. But yeah, so I need to mount it down there, and then I will need to get the shock to mount in here. Let me take this fender off. All right, I got the fender off. So yeah, I need to mount this shock somewhere. That's the only thing that I'm having trouble with, because it has another probably 3 inches until it hits the fender, which would be a nice place to mount it. But it will it's going to end up being a little, once it sags under, I think the control arm is going to be at a bad angle relative to the ground and to the rest of the subframe. So that's how I want it to sit, kind of flat like that. So I'm thinking of making a box up there, some sort of box welded off of this fender, because these are structural, so they're pretty strong. And yeah, weld the box to hold that in, and then make a little access hole on the top. And that should hold everything at right height and be plenty strong for this little car. I have no doubt it's going to fit. See, the Miata is actually a pretty wide car compared to the Volvo. Like, this comes all the way out to almost the door. So I'm going to have to get some pretty cool, crazy offset wheels, because the rear end is actually going to be almost the same exact track width, which is around 56 inches. This is 55. The rear is going to be 56, so it's very close. It's not that big of a deal. Shouldn't have to use spacers or anything. I got the engine put in and placed kind of where I want it to be, and it's looking pretty good actually. So this is what we got. This is what we're working with here. Looks like it fits pretty good. Still need to cut this cross member here. That side's already cut. I have it spaced out with a 2x4 under there, if you can see that. There's a 2x4. The only thing that is hitting right now is the oil filter down there is hitting a little bit on the cross member, so I'm just going to, or on the subframe, so I'm just going to section that out a little bit just to make it so I can take it off and put one on, you know. It's kind of needed. I don't want to have to pull the engine to do an oil change, but that's really it. Now guys, granted, I could fit a V8 in here, but I kind of like the idea of this little car. Originally came with a 4-cylinder, and it's gonna still have a 4-cylinder. It's only 0.2 liters bigger with a turbo though. And I also like how low this is. I like the fitment on that. These are just 205s. I'm not sure what size tire I'm going to run in it. It might be a 205 in the front. It might be a 215 in the front. I definitely want bigger than 215 in the rear, just because I know it'll fit. And the only reason I don't want to run a big tire on the front is because I don't have power steering. at all, which is totally fine with me. But I don't think it's going to help much having a 245 in the front for this super light car. It's been a couple days since I've worked on the car. Last I left you guys was when the engine was in it and I was having some problems with the oil filter, which all I need to do now is cut out just a little circle around there so I can reach my hand in there and undo it. I might end up moving it a little bit forward, so I'm going to cut the hole a little bit farther forward just so I can fit the exhaust a little bit better. But that's what I'm going to do right now. So I have it marked out. You probably can't see it at all, but down there is where I have it marked out for the oil filter. And that's what I'm just going to do now. I'm going to cut it out with the angle grinder, the cutting wheel, and we'll go from there. I'll probably end up making a nice concave little section there for it. So that's what we're going to do right now. I ended up taking it out of the car just because it's a little tight in there.
We must pay homage to him.
I got the piece out. It's pretty small. I want to start small. I think it's just gonna have to go like this. I'll probably end up using this piece actually to just go straight in like that. Kind of box it in the other way. It'll keep the same strength. So something like that, you know, and build up the side. I just need to be able to get some room underneath it to go straight down because I'm able to turn it when I'm under there. I just can't take it out the bottom. So I think that'll solve that. Now we got to start cutting the frame on this thing a little bit more. Should be good to drop the engine in again and test fit. I went ahead and painted these brackets just so it looks a little better and to stop it from rusting. Side two. I got this heater going. It's freaking cold. Maybe try and dry that stuff a little faster. Looks good though. Looks good. I like it. It's pretty shiny even. Should be plenty strong too. I like that. Kind of turns the frame rail into a regular frame rail. Of course, I'm gonna have to support this onto the fender because that's where the shock is gonna sit against this in some way. So I'm gonna have to support the middle of that, maybe even the bracket itself up to the fender in some way, or to the firewall back in there, the body itself. But right now it's plenty strong for rolling around on its own and putting the engine in and out and stuff. Plenty strong. This will kind of give you guys a better view of where the engine's sitting in the engine bay. I put the whole front clip on just with wires and stuff, and you can see that it's pretty far back. I have all this room for radiator and intercooler and fans, mainly from here to there, that way. But you can see that it's not too tall in there. This looks like where it's gonna sit. It's pretty nice. I'll put the hood on just so we can complete the package a little bit, but it's looking really good. Again, exhaust is gonna suck, so I'm gonna somehow figure out where to put it. Maybe it'll loop around and go that way, come right out the hood or something, or just turn it up right out the hood in the driver's face. No, I won't do that. I'm going to keep it looking stock, hopefully, on the outside. Nothing to really give it away except for a lowered stance, some nice wheels. Looks really good. I need to get some engine mounts and then I'll get some poly bushings and weld them in there and hopefully get the engine fixed in and make a trans cross member and stuff. But it's looking pretty good right now. I'll put the hood on just so you guys can see how much clearance it has. But right now, not a problem. Here it is with the hood on. I have that tire just mocked up. That's a 205. I want to say 57 or 15 or something like that. I don't know. It's pretty small though. But width-wise, it actually looks pretty good up there. Maybe a little wider. But you can see the engine in there. There's loads of room. Loads of room up top. The closest thing is, let's see. a good 4 or 5 inches from the top of the hood, or the bottom of the hood there. Man, it's a good looking car. It's been a while since I've had all this stuff on it, looking like a car again. But I gotta take it all apart in about 10 minutes. So you guys heard it, Miata subframe in the Volvo. There's another guy that did this. He didn't really put any information out there on it, so I'm looking to help you guys who's, want a steering rack and some coilovers in the front, widens the track a little bit, tons of aftermarket support. So that's what I'm doing here. Alright, so have a good one, guys, and stay tuned for some future videos on the Volvo.